Hey, what is up guys? So I'm here to share with you guys one of my first Yu-Gi-Oh decks that I actually ever built in real life. Now, I actually played Yu-Gi-Oh back when it was the Eternal Duelist Soul on Game Boy Advance. I played just, on the Game Boy games, and I never really actually owned any of the cards. And, after a few years, I picked up Tag Force, 2, something for the PSP, and I actually built this deck. I hate how in the games, they always start you out with, like, the worst cards, and you have to work your way up. But this deck was really fun. It was actually really good in the game, except for when your opponent had Heavy Storm. But, you know how the computers are. If any of you guys have played the Yu-Gi-Oh games, the computer always has the right cards at the right moment. Like, if you're about to finish them off for game, they will have Magic Cylinder, and they will, Magical Cylinder you for game. It's just how the game is. They will always have the perfect, card. They always have the heart of the cards when they're playing. But that said, after, getting a lot of wins in the Tag Force game for the PSP, I decided to build this deck in real life. And I knew that there was a card shop about half an hour away from me, so I used to go there and I used to watch them play. And I was like, my deck will destroy these guys, right? And, I never really understood that, there's lots of cards that wrecked my deck. My deck was not very high tier at all. They would play cards like Icarus Attack, and I hated that card. I remember I loved this card called Dark Bribe, but because at the time, Dark Bribe hadn't had its reprint, and now it comes in common, and, back in the day, I believe it was only super and ultra rare. It was like an expensive card. I don't remember how expensive it was, but I know I couldn't afford 3 of them, so I only had 1 Dark Bribe. Now, this is like one of my favorite cards back in the day, but I love Dark Bribe. This, it hit Heavy Storm too. This was actually one of my other favorite cards. This card is Judgment of Anubis. So we'll be going over some of the card effects because a lot of these cards are not very good and they're not very meta. And if you try to play this deck, today, it would be an awful deck. So this is Judgment of Anubis. So you discard 1 card from your hand. You negate the activation of a spell card that your opponent uses to destroy your spell trap cards, and then after it, you can destroy 1 face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field, and you inflict damage equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. So if they had a huge monster out, you get to destroy the monster, and then on top of that, you were able to inflict a lot of burn damage. And at the time, Magical Cylinder was a card that was at 1. One of my favorite combos in my deck was essentially to Lava Golem them and then activate Nightmare Wheel on Lava Golem. And this is at a time where XYZs didn't exist. So once Lava Golem was on the field, there was very few things that they could do other than tribute the monster. And at the time, I believe Blackwings were one of the most popular decks. That deck was popular for like forever. But if I activated Dark Bribe on their Icarus Attack and I was able to have maybe like a Swords Revealing Light to stall them out, I could deal some significant amounts of damage. I just really hated running into Kalut because the way I played this deck was essentially I would try to make Stardust Dragon if I could. At the time, there was not very many good tuners. I remember Rose Warrior Revenge was like my favorite card. I had this card in Ultimate Rare, but generally what I would try to do is I would try to summon a monster, have it survive. Something like Destiny Her Defender was like an excellent card that helped me survive. Plus I had triple Nightmare Wheel, so I was hoping that they would never be able to attack. And then I would try to make a Stardust Dragon and play the Wave Motion Cannon, sit behind Stardust Dragon. So if you guys don't know what Wave Motion Cannon does, during your main phase you can send it to the graveyard to inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent for each standby phases that have passed since this card was activated. So you activate it and you just kind of stall them out until you can burn them for game. And there's another card that was really cool. This is Solar Flare Dragon. I'm not sure if Reborn was legal at the time. I think I might have played Call of the Haunted. I don't remember the exact cards, so a few of these cards might be off, but I remember if I controlled 2 Solar Flare Dragons, my opponent could not attack. And that was really cool because then they would take 1,000 damage each turn and they couldn't attack. Then I'd have my Wave Motion Cannons building up and I'd have Nightmare Wheel preps on their cards. I loved a Nightmare Wheel. This is one of my favorite cards too. It was so much fun when I got to tribute my opponent's monsters with Lava Golem, and then Nightmare Wheel the Lava Golem that I just gave them. Was so they'd not only take 1,000 damage for Lava Golem, but each turn they would take 500 additional points of damage. So that was pretty fun. Another card I really liked was Omnious Fortune Telling. It wasn't a very good card though. I mean, generally, I just used it to see their hand, and occasionally, you get to, see a card that, could potentially hurt you. Like, if you know that they have Heavy Storm, you probably don't want to set, all your cards. But, sometimes I did it anyways because Judgment of Anubis was awesome. Starlight Road didn't exist back when I was playing this deck. At least I don't think it was. I'm not sure if I remember even playing these guys. I'm not sure if I played multiple rows. I just remember I had level 4 tuners, and I was trying to think what other level 4 tuners there was in the game at that time. All I remember was Rose Warrior Revenge and then Flameville Magician. I don't remember exactly the date when Starlight Road came out, but I remember I was so excited about Starlight Road. I was like, oh, this is the card I need to make this deck so much better. But, you know, the game just got too fast, and this deck just didn't really work out. It had a bad matchup against Blackwings, too. And, as far as my action deck, I don't remember exactly what I had. I remember I had Turbo Warrior, though, and I had, I don't know, 2 or 3 Stardust Dragons because I would try to, you know, make Stardust Dragon and then just protect Wave Motion Cannon as long as I possibly could, and I would just give him. So I was playing a burn deck, and it wasn't a very good deck, but, you know, I had some fun times, and I'm sure my opponents always hated playing against me because this deck is very, very annoying to play against because I had a whole bunch of cards that couldn't be destroyed by battle. I had 2 of these guys, they're kind of Force the Fool. I had Spirit Reaper and Marshmallow. At the time, guys, these cards were both at 1. And I remember I only had 1 Galen Duel. This card was actually really hard to find. I mean, it's still hard to find, even though it got reprinted in Duel Terminal. But I remember I wanted more Galen Duels, I wanted more Dark Bribes, and I wanted more Solemns, but I just couldn't afford them at that time. And also, at one point, I believe I was playing this card also. This card is it No Monster? Okay, so basically, No Monsters can attack for 2 turns. I probably should have played Messenger of Peace, but I just probably didn't think of it at that time. But, yeah, this is just the deck I used to play. This is actually one of my first decks that I built in real life. But I want to know, what decks did you guys start out playing? Because I'm sure there are very few people that start out in this game playing, like, you know, a tier 1 deck, unless they have a friend that, you know, is talking to them, and they have friends that can let them borrow cards to make, you know, these tier 1 decks. Because I'm sure most of us that started playing this game did not play, you know, a high tier deck. You know, you kind of just worked some, you know, awful cards into the game, and then you eventually realize that, you know, meta is meta, and, you know, your decks just don't have the speed to compete with other people. But I thought it was just a fun video I'd share with you guys. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below, what was one of the first decks you built? I don't know what I want to call this deck. I would probably say it's probably a stall burn deck. Or a stall Wave Motion Cannon. I remember this card. There were times where I would open up like 2 of these and, you know, perhaps like a Nightmare Wheel. And, you know, if I open up with this card, I just loved having this card first turn. It was just so much fun. But like I said, yeah, I think I played 1 Call of the Haunted. I think Call of the Haunted was at 1, and I would bring back a Sword for a Dragon sometimes, and, you know, it would just burn for 1,000. But, yeah, I don't remember exactly what cards, but, like I said, let me know in the comment section below what deck you started out playing when you started building your first deck. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Asian Eyes signing out.